think you're on.
Okay, good evening. Welcome to the November 25th meeting of the Northborough Open Space Committee. My name is John Campbell. I will read to you the introduction. This open meeting of the Open Space Committee is being conducted remotely pursuant with Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law on March 29, 2023. All members of the Open Space Committee are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely. The act allows the Open Space Committee to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of the meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on YouTube. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. I will take a roll call. If you could answer in the affirmative when you hear your name. Brian Belfer.
Present.
Ashley Davies.
Here.
Thank you. Yeah. Leslie Harrison.
Here.
Anthony Zaitin.
Here.
And John Campbell, I am here. And staff is Vinnie Bignali.
Here.
Hello, Vinnie. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for making time to meet. As usual, our meetings are conducted somewhat informally. Please feel free to speak up when you have comments or contributions. You can wave your hand. I've got everybody on the screen, or you can use the hand signal on Zoom, whatever you prefer, or just barge in like usual. First agenda item is the minutes from September 23rd, sorry, 2024. And I would like to use the minutes, a review of the minutes quickly to remember a few things we brought up that we were going to carry over. So briefly, I just wanted to ask if we could make sure the discussion of the Hopbrook Trailhead and its association with that land and the possible association with something around Shrewsbury, that we keep that on our agenda. We don't have it on a specific agenda item, but it's part of our open discussion, I guess, or part of other business. And we'll bring it up again tonight. And I didn't have any other edits. Did anyone else? Hearing none, then I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you, Leslie and Brian. So a quick roll call vote to approve the minutes. Please answer in the affirmative please answer when I call your name. Brian?
Yes.
Ashley?
Half an hour in the
Yes.
lobby, because we won't extend Jim.
Leslie?
Yes.
Anthony? Or
Yes.
you would abstain probably? Were you here? You were not present.
Oh.
But thanks anyway. And John, I will approve. So 4-0 meetings are approved, minutes are approved. Thank you very much. Okay, first up is discussion of CPC funding. And I will tell you that I did submit an application on behalf of the Open Space Committee for additional conservation funds in the amount of $200,000. It was briefly reviewed at the November CPC meeting, and there was no comment either way. Certainly appears to be the possibility that there'll be support. And the start of the open hearing for community preservation this year starts next Thursday, December 5. It's in person in conference room B, 6 p.m. start this year, and anyone is welcome to attend. There'll be a 15-minute time period to just discuss that application. I plan to try to bring forth a summary of most of the different places where we've used conservation money and CPA money for land conservation. And just to have a better, more specific reminder of all the different things we've achieved. And just to maintain the committee support and the public support for that. If anyone has any specific input or things I should say, or wants to come and speak on behalf of it, please do. Any other questions on that application? It was pretty straightforward and similar to the last one.
No, thank you for doing that. That's going to be helpful.
You're
It's hard
welcome.
with
And
no money.
right, well, on the I think I checked and there's 60,000 something in the conservation fund. That was mostly interest on previous balances and some old money. So it's not all, I should say none of that is designated as needing to meet CPA requirements. But then we do expect, if it hasn't happened yet, that we're getting the reimbursement from DCR with regard to the Whitney Street property. I know that was pending. I know they need to do some more due diligence. I believe we have a solid commitment that it will come in, and when it does, we agreed that it would go to the conservation fund, not to the CPA reserve, because we used the previous conservation money in the Whitney Street purchase. So I think that made good sense. You don't have any update, do you have any?
Yes. That was actually going to be my update. You covered it all very well. Brian had asked that question, make sure we cover it. So I don't know if, Brian, you have any questions to follow up on that you might have on the 432 Whitney property?
I just had some general questions about like time frame and access and all the other updates. We could do that now or later on in the meeting.
No, feel free.
Yeah, so I just wasn't sure like where we stand, where the town stands and where DCR stands, and when we can start, romping around on that parcel, and when I know that part of it is intended to go to affordable housing, when someone would be looking at that overall parcel to determine, where affordable housing would go. All sorts of like general questions.
All right. Well, I checked with Laurie Connors, the planning director, gave me an update that they are working on that appraisal to reappraise it. They're also requiring or asking for an approval not required plan to break off the property that is not going to be under conservation restriction with the DCR. So we're trying to work towards that. And it has been acquired by the town, so you can go out there and look around. We don't have any formal trails set up, but if the trails committees, I think you guys have been out there already, but scoping it out is a good idea. I'm trying to get in touch with, I think it's a person from DCR, Kevin Hollenbeck, I think is his name. And they might have funding to do some trail work that would lead all the way from Northborough through Berlin into Hudson and all along the brook that's in there. So a lot of those things are still just in beginning discussion phase, but they all look promising. We are waiting for the final decisions and the final review by the DCR, and they will then submit the check for the conservation restriction to go to the town. And we weren't exactly sure who makes the final decision that it gets back to the conservation fund, but everybody's in agreement that that's where it should go.
It should have been somewhere in the vote. There should have been a vote somewhere specifying that, no?
Yes, it was in the Conservation Commission's vote. I think it was in our vote here.
And if
Which is definitely binding on the select board.
Quick question, do you know if Sudbury Valley Trustees is involved with DCR in that trail work?
We haven't
Or in
really
any of it?
started that yet, but we were hoping to. We were just trying to get the connections with the DCR first, and then Sudbury Valley, I think, really has a lot of stuff in Berlin, so it makes a lot of sense to utilize them and make the connection so that everybody can use the best possible trail.
Okay, yeah, I met with them about something else a couple months back, and they mentioned that they were working on it. So they've somehow been involved in some small way, but that's interesting. Okay.
Try the party first.
Yeah, they
Just
were invited.
wondering in terms of creation of the trail, sometimes it's almost easier to go through a nonprofit rather than the state, but I'll check in on that.
Nice.
When you say that, Ashley, do we need, what's to prevent Trails Committee, for instance, from scoping out where they'd like to?
Nothing,
trail work.
but if you wanted to make it a multi-use or something and you needed funding, I don't know, sometimes it's easier to get funding if you're working with a nonprofit partner. But no, nothing to prevent Trails from doing it. Or DCR, I mean, DCR can do it too.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably gonna need some small machine work. And then I was also curious, you know, I think we were all roughly aware that there was some debris and other stuff on the property. Who, like within town, like who's responsible for either cleaning it or dumpsters, or is there any reason why we couldn't start cleaning it up?
I think we just need to coordinate. I think the DPW, would be just like our trailhead cleaning where we have to coordinate with DPW to get something there to put the trash or whatever it is in. Or you could bring it down to the town barn and put it in there. But there's a good amount of stuff out there, and some of it is just going to decay and fall away. But there are still, I saw a mattress or two or some other like small equipment things that aren't threatening, but it is junk, so needs to get taken out.
Yeah, so Trails Committee did a pretty extensive traipse about the property, all, you know, to all the perimeters and up and down the middle and whatnot. And the trash situation isn't terrible. There's a lot of old pallets that need to get hauled out of there, and there's an extensive amount of barbed wire where I presume the previous owner put up to keep his livestock from wandering away. And certainly, like, it's more of a trails thing, but like some of that we could certainly do as a volunteer effort, but some other parts of that would be beyond our like normal scope. But I guess I could maybe talk to DPW about.
Yeah, well, let's see if you can put together something about what you found and where it might be. And then either you want to talk to the DPW director or I can coordinate it. I think getting it documented is the first step. And then how large a problem is it? And if it's something DPW thinks they can just handle and take care of, then we'll move ahead. But it may take something more, if it sounds like.
Gotcha. Cool.
You're
John,
muted.
Sorry, I was muted. We could drop a note to Scott, or I could drop a note to Scott and copy Lori and you and see if in the 100 things that he has on a list, whether it's been discussed as to when they might get involved with any removal of debris, and whether does the prior owner still have any obligation to get rid of anything. I don't know. There were I feel like there was an old trailer up there at one time, some other metal work at one time.
Yeah, I think he's done. He's
since I
cleared
was
everything that was required, and I think the town has said we're accepting it as is, and any other small stuff we'll get rid of.
Okay. Well, so let's find out if there's going to be any town help, or whether they're going to bring a truck down there someday, or would they? And if they wanted some volunteer help, then maybe we could put out the call, or Trails Committee certainly could, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'll write something up. It's probably about 4 dumpsters worth of stuff, which is not, it's not terrible given how big the property is.
4 dumpsters?
Maybe 3. There's a lot of pallets.
That's a lot.
It's not really, as far as like, because the pallets you
Right.
can't really make them smaller.
Yeah, there was a couple of.
I know it's not a good time to be bringing up burning, but would burning be an option at some point with at least the pallets?
If the fire department would let us burn, absolutely. We could just make a nice spot and have a great big town bonfire.
Yeah. Just a thought. I mean, it leaves a lot of nails and things behind, so you have to be careful because it's not just wood. But
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's pretty easy to clean up afterwards, though.
yeah,
And
Yeah.
it's possible to leave it out near the road to let those wood burners that they like using pallets, people just burn it at home, just leave it up close to the road and say free and let them take it.
yeah. I mean, I
Yeah.
Yeah.
grabbed some we stack our wood on pallets. I just grabbed someone on Barefoot Road had pallets
Right.
out, a big stack of pallets, and I grabbed a few of those, and so they're useful. So
Yeah.
I put out a really nice
They-
crib one time and the wood burners took it and burned it. It's like, are you that desperate?
are they in decent shape, Brian, or are they like are they
A little of both. The ones that are up by the tracks are in pretty good shape. Then there's some that are further in that are kind of the main pathway through there it's basically like a compost highway. It doesn't smell bad, but it's got incidental trash in it and it's really soft. And then there's some stuff sitting adjacent to it. It's not like a disaster, but it's definitely an interesting mix of terrain.
Did
Um,
did the town do a 21E on there, on the property? We did, right? Because
Whether
of,
we did a formal
c-
21E, but they did
Mm.
go out and do an evaluation. They hired someone, I think, to do an evaluation. Scott and Tim did a site walk after all that was done, and they looked around and they didn't see any
Okay.
concerns. So
okay,
yeah, there's the stuff they brought in was an issue with the Conservation Commission because it was loam and just some windrow, some compost. And so it's got some plastic bags in it from whatever. And it does have little bits and pieces, but it is organic. So that was one of the restrictions or problems that the prior owner was going to have was he'd have to remove all that and bring in good structural fill to make a good road to access the back. So if we were going to put a road in, we would probably have to do the same thing.
what's a 21E? I could Google it, but
it's an environmental site assessment. So it's like the preliminary look to see if, is there any like hazardous waste or signs of hazardous waste? And then from
Oh, yeah, I
there,
mean,
they
that was
recommend
definitely
if you
done.
need to do
the
testing. I
groundwater
thought
contamination, all that. Oh my
I
God,
thought
yeah.
so, because
Absolutely.
of the history across the street.
Yeah, no, that was absolutely done. I don't remember how extensive it was. I know John got grilled on that at town meeting about the details, but there was it was definitely done.
Yeah, it's not terrible. It's, for a lot that size, given its history, we didn't find anything unexpected other than I was surprised at the linear footage of barbed wire, which is going to take a good amount of effort to.
It's actually standing or it's just tossed?
No, it's like it's mostly
Nice.
on trees.
Oh,
It's just run in long lengths on trees. It's all eminently hand clearable. It's just
Nasty.
wouldn't want to hazard a guess at the man hours it's going to take, but it's not, it's all
Yeah.
right.
It was a farm, so he had barbed wire around the farm. So it goes around the outside and all the stuff that's out there. I haven't seen an old farm that's neat and clean there. This one isn't
Yeah.
really that bad for a farm. It actually would be considered, I think, neat and clean because they can get really nasty with old equipment that just gets left. And this one isn't bad at all.
Yeah,
My house is in the center of town and we still have barbed wire in our stone wall. I mean, when was that last a farm? I don't know. 1920. It's wild.
it's kind of, if we had, I'll talk to Scott, but if we had like a small metal recycling dumpster, we could just start picking at the barbed wire. Just if we have somewhere we don't want to drive that back through town. We want to be able to heave it locally into a container. So.
Yeah, let's get his feedback. I doubt that it's something prominent on his mind, busy guy, but we can ask for accessibility of equipment or if they have a dumpster or something could start. We might be surprised at how amenable they are, particularly if they're not too busy with other winter activities. But love to see something get started there.
Okay.
Sounds great. Anything else on Whitney?
No.
We'll move on from CPC related stuff. Next up is to discuss landowner outreach. Actually, the next two agenda items like pretty much overlap, right, Vinny?
Yes.
So,
The only, if I could jump in, John, the only
Sure.
question I really had on the landowner outreach, we had on the landowner list, we had some blue properties that I think tie into what John was asking about over on Hop Brook. We didn't send letters to those properties because it was a specific request. It wasn't to acquire the property or any other aspects. It was more to access for a trail and to get CR or access for a trail in the rear back section of their properties. So I wasn't sure whether we should, whether I should draft a letter to them and just say that's what we're interested in, a specific letter that we're working with Town of Shrewsbury to come up with options or ideas for a trail in the area between Davis Street and the Town of Shrewsbury up behind Wegmans and Shops Way, whatever that's called.
so I have the spreadsheet up for me, and just so I'm clear, lines 55, 6, 7, 8 all have the same owner in Shrewsbury. I believe
Yes.
that's what you're talking about.
That
Whereas
is.
lines 54 and 59 is the well-known property in Northborough side. I don't know if there's any overlap there, but back to your question, I get if you think it's timely to let someone know that discussions are underway. Otherwise, I guess, in your opinion, should you wait until more is known, more momentum happens? I just don't know where you are with those talks, or as well as the opportunity to get the trailhead and all that was still subject to some state stuff going on, right?
Yes, right. We held a public hearing with the Conservation Commission, held a public hearing on the project where they were talking about removing the hazardous material out there. And we asked the question of them to allow them to leave their construction staging areas right at the entrances in the future so that we can use them as parking spaces. They did not commit to it, but their processes are that they're trying to encourage or trying to support the use of MWRA and Department of Flood, what's it called? The flood management areas, flood control areas. So they're trying to allow public access into there where it's possible. And this seems like a perfect example of it. So it's been out in the public view. I assume those property owners in blue received abutter notices from the DCR about something that was going on. So I was thinking we just kind of tack on to that to get the first word out there. I think a follow-up with Brian, he's the one coordinating, contacting the Shrewsbury Trails Committee to work on coordination, but I think that will follow in the future. So if you want to add anything to it, Brian?
Yeah, I think I was just sort of waiting for a little bit more of like clarity of the timeline. And then once I had a little better picture of like where we thought we were, then the next time I'm visiting the Shrewsbury folks, I'll try to, share that with them. I was only just slightly reluctant only because this project is, it kind of comes and goes historically. And I was a little worried about like lighting up the room with great news, only to then follow that up with like maybe in 3 or 4 years. So,
Right.
But
Right.
yeah.
I really can't say names, but in that area, I bet there's 2 landowners in particular on West Main that probably wouldn't want trail access too close to the back of their properties just because of the nature of their business, right? So it would be awesome am I thinking of the right place?
You are.
If it were closer to like where Wegmans is, Southwest Cutoff, that would be awesome, and Cutting Cross. But I feel like if we get too close to the others, there would be an issue, probably.
Yes, yeah, I don't think we're even attempting to ask them for permission just because, I mean, it's an operating, existing operations. So
Yeah, okay.
it's not worth it really for them. It's not backland that they don't care about, but in this other instance, I think it is. So if we can, it's a tickler basically. I don't really expect to get a lot of action, but if they read it, I think we're one step ahead of it so that they're aware and ahead of the game in the future.
Got it.
And I think it is going to be a 3 to 5 year time frame. So we're not ready with hatchets and saws to get out there and make trails.
Is that something, Vinny, you can just take care of on your own, or do we need to review it?
I just wanted to check and make sure that the Open Space Committee was okay with me sending out a letter with your signature on it, John.
Sure. Of course. That always happens. No, that's fine.
I'll send it by you.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm the least knowledgeable of the potential collaboration with Shrewsbury and that area, but I'm glad we're talking about it.
Good. So I will work on that.
Okay, very good. Sounds like we're at a conclusion on that subject area. I thought, though, that the one we would have the most discussion on would be the property for which we approved appraisals, lines 15, 16. And I believe the committee was copied on your email to the owners with the attached letter that you had run by us, basically explaining the difference between the two levels of appraisal. Would you mind summarizing, Vinny, and if there's any update to it?
Yes, so we had contacted the appraisal company, got the appraisals on the property of interest. We sent out the letter and the copies of the appraisals to the owners and have not got any response back from them. They did submit an approval not required plan to the planning board recently. And I think it breaks up the property into 5 or 6 lots. So we're trying to see what that change is going to incur with the appraisals and the values and how they might be willing to discuss things with the town. But again,
Sorry,
I think
which property is this? Sorry.
The one
line
you know, Leslie.
Okay, all right. Okay,
15,
yeah.
16, is it?
They're finding 5 lots with frontage.
That's correct.
Wow.
So I'm on the other street, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's topography and there's wetness.
Yes, there is. That's why it may not all be real, but
It's interesting.
A&R property lines are different than
But-
developable lots.
But again, we were told that the lots beside Melican were not developable and they have very large houses on them now. So we should know that that's,
I was wondering what
Potential.
happened with those, how those all of a sudden popped up.
oh yeah. Have you been by there, Leslie?
Oh, yeah, they're massive.
Oh, yeah. Massive. Oh, it's too wet. We can't even put a field here. Now there's
Yeah.
3 mansions.
Yeah.
It's a shame. Anyway, so,
Now,
anything's possible, I guess.
right, Vinny, they submitted an A&R to the town after they got the appraisals, or was that ongoing?
It happened probably 2 weeks or 3 weeks before we finalized all the appraisal. We got everybody to review and approve the letter. So I was slow with the open space coordination because we had to wait for a meeting, and it took us
It
longer.
was all my fault. It was all my fault. Vinny was great. I took forever. Apologies.
But one of those, the second appraisal was based on 7 lots, wasn't it?
I think so, yes. A plan that was a sketch of 7 lots, so.
And that's just, so is it fair to say somewhere in there, the family came up with a slightly different plan? and brought that to the town?
I think it was the designer looked at it a little more realistically and came up with another option. And again, it's not done until you get all your permits, but it is more
Does-
reasonable than the 7.
Does this
for my-
version allow them not to, they don't have to demolish the house with the 5 lot? Or
with the
do they?
6. Yes.
Okay, so I mean, the 7 lot plan, it would be a road through where the house is now, and I don't think I think they
They
care
were gonna
about
demolish the
still.
house?
Right, so I think this new A&R proposal probably is a way to keep the house and get some lots.
Yeah.
I'm
That's
sorry,
what
what
I'm
was your answer,
assuming.
Vinny? Is that a
Yes.
yes, that they would keep the house?
Yes.
And they know about the demolition delay requirements if they do decide they want to demolish the house?
Yes.
Okay.
Educate me on why did they bring that to the town, and does that start some kind of process of evaluation?
I think they're just trying to get the property sold, and they did wait 5 or 6 months for the town for us to respond, and we did we got through with it, and they hadn't gotten anything back. I talked to one of the members and let him know something was coming, but I think the other 2 wanted to move things along and check out their options. They haven't said no to the idea of protection and preservation. They, I think, are trying to come up with reasonable valuations so that in the future they can make some decisions on how to proceed with knowing the facts. So it's not a
I think
lost
there's a
cause.
sense of responsibility for the next generation. It's complicated. It's not,
I think
yeah.
it was very well known that the parents were very committed to that idea. And I think the children want to kind of support it as well.
But they, I guess, what they just submitted doesn't necessarily correspond to the appraisal. And they did know that the appraisals were ongoing and we were paying for them, right?
Yes, they did. They did, but an appraisal is an appraisal based on something. So we had those plans that they utilized, and that was what we ended up with, was the appraisal cost. And we just have to remind them that any other alternatives that they come up with are going to incur additional costs and expenses associated with long driveways, or if they do a common drive, review and approval and construction costs of that. They're very expensive. We have one going in on on Reservoir Street, and he estimated the cost to be about $100,000, it was 650 feet, I think it was, and $650,000 to build it. So for the road and the drainage and all the utilities. So it's a high cost per foot of road.
Do you think, do you believe we should try to meet with them again personally to exchange, this new information? And how ready do you think they would be for that?
We can ask. It's a good idea to ask. I would give them, I think we gave them a couple of weeks ago the letter. And so maybe between the holidays here, early December, if Ashley's available, we could try to schedule a meeting.
Yeah, they were wonderful when we met with them, but they made it clear that they're making sure that they get as much money to the next generation as possible, while also trying to save the house. But it's really about the grandkids of the deceased, and making sure that they do their fiduciary duty to make sure that those beneficiaries get, the value of what the property is. So, that's why we did the second appraisal and tried to make sure that we used the land use planning that they did. So I can't imagine why they wouldn't want to meet and talk about those and see what we could come up with.
Well, that'd be great if you're willing.
Mhm.
It sounds
I
like,
can contact them and send an email, or unless you want to. Actually, we have their email addresses. So
Yeah, I think it's better coming from you, 'cause it's official town correspondence, and then I'm happy to be there, CC'd on the email.
Okay.
That's great. I appreciate that follow-up. I think, we've got something ongoing. It's good to keep communicating it, maybe dispel any miscommunication or misunderstandings they may have, and then determine if there's some other next step to clarify the valuation better, and then continue to encourage the talking, I guess. We have to be patient all the time, right?
Yeah.
Well, very good. Any other feedback on this particular item? I don't think we had anything else on the list that was really popping with anything new, right?
No, we had brought up that one small quarter-acre parcel, and the
Yeah.
Conservation Commission voted, they didn't vote, they supported, they discussed it and said that they would support if it came to them to accept the property, that quarter-acre property that was being given to the town. So now we just need to do the background paperwork for it to make it happen.
Okay, great. So, does this committee need to do anything further on that, or you
Nothing.
basically, okay. So you get 2 approvals to go forward, all right?
Yeah.
Fair enough. And what street was that again, or what the address? anyway?
Northgate.
I kn-
0
know
North.
where, I know where it was. Okay, thank you. Very good. Okay, once again, any other items from the list or any other new items to add? Anything else at all on property outreach? Very well, hearing none. Keep this moving. The next item was with regard to the master plan implementation committee. And so just as a matter of review, when that committee was formed, a representative from Open Space Committee was requested. Ashley asked to be that representative. We agreed as a committee, forget how long ago now, a couple of years. And for full disclosure, for those that don't know, I am also on that committee, but I was selected as an at-large member. But I'm understanding, Ashley, that you may want to get off that committee.
Yeah, I haven't been able to attend the last few meetings, even when I tried. And I just don't feel like I'm giving it the attention it deserves. Life is crazy. I'm at, Ninja Warrior right now, so. It's like,
Completely
You know.
understand.
I would love it if somebody else wanted to be the rep for that committee.
Well, very good. So we're opening the candidacy if people want to think about it. So the commitment, the committee has started to meet every other month, with the most recent meeting happening last week, right? Last week. And so at this point, it would be January, March, May, July, September, November kind of thing, which is corresponding to the Open Space Committee meetings, or months, by the way.
John,
Mhm.
do you think it would make more sense if you were the open space rep and then the at-large seat were opened, or is that not?
It's interesting. You make a good point in that
I didn't think of it before now. That's why I didn't mention it before.
I could open it up to more citizens, which isn't a bad thing, right?
Mhm.
And I don't mind doing it. I'm planning to stay on that committee, at least for now. I think I renewed my appointment. I don't remember how long it committed me for, but. So that's an interesting idea. I guess if there was an open space member who really felt like they wanted to join it, then this would be an opening. If you're not familiar with the committee,
Didn't see anybody jumping out of their seats, which is why I am.
yeah, there's only
Maybe I'd mention that.
only 3 others here. I know each of those members is busy with other committees. You know, it's a good committee, good cross-section of Northborough residents and another committee members, and the committee's trying to do effective work. It is a slow process, but you know, it's interesting to be involved. But that's a good point you make. So
Maybe worth, I could maybe just have a conversation with Lori or send her an email and see her thoughts on that. If you were open to it, John.
yeah, I'm open to the idea. I think it's good to always encourage other citizens to get involved. People sometimes comment they don't have an opportunity. So that way there'd be an opening that someone else, you know, an at-large citizen might have interest and might join it. Could be a good thing.
Yeah, I agree also.
I mean, I'd love to stay involved. I
great
just don't
thing.
have time.
Understood. So I would say, I would like to propose, we keep the agenda item open. I'd like to hear from the other members of the committee. And perhaps we'll repeat that email specifically so that they know it's available, and if there's a response independently to consider it. And otherwise, yeah, please do bring it up to Lori, and we can just wait until the next master plan meeting. It's
Okay,
not
so
like there's
I'll wait.
a rush of any business.
Okay, I'll wait until I hear back, until we email out to the full open space committee and make sure there's not interest here, and then if not, I'll reach out to Lori.
Sounds good. And I certainly don't mind doing that. I joined it originally because I thought someone familiar with CPA would be good to have on the committee, and I still kind of try to play that role for where we can use CPA resources for some of the things we're doing in town. But other than that, I'm definitely not married to the committee. I shouldn't put it that way. I'm committed to the committee. I like serving on it, but should there be others more enthused, I'm open to whatever we come up with.
I will send something out to the open space committee and let them know the opportunity is still available.
Thanks, Jenny.
Please do. That sounds great.
I have a question sort of related to committee openings.
Mhm.
I know someone in town who would be I think might be actually a pretty good fit for this committee. What's the proper way of addressing that, doing that? Our slate seems to be full, but I'm not sure how many people we're supposed to have or want to have.
Well, we remember the history. The committee asked to expand its available at-large membership at one point because we had more people that wanted to be on it. Frankly, in the last few years, we haven't filled that. We have trouble, getting quorum sometimes. The committee, in its formation, had a requirement for a planning committee representative, a recreation committee representative, and a conservation committee representative. I think that's the minimum.
Yep.
And we have those, and the rest were at large. Right now, Leslie, myself, Paul, and Ashley, and you too, Brian, are all the at-large members, right? Anthony is planning, Dan is conservation, and
Paul C is
Paul C is rec.
is
And
there a
so-
select board member?
It's considered a
Lisa,
liaison. And
right?
Lisa,
Now, I
Lisa
checked it.
is it.
I might be listed differently. I want to check. For some of them I've noticed I'm listed wrong. Let me look.
It
On
doesn't
the
say what
website.
any of us are on the website.
Yeah, let's see. So Open Space Committee. So right now it has us listed as,
Change it up a little bit. Yeah.
oh, it doesn't have anything for any, well, it has Ashley as Open Space rep to the Open Space Committee. That makes a lot of sense. And yeah, it doesn't have designations for
all-
any of us.
That should all be updated. But technically, there's an opening, and so if the person is interested, they can apply, go through the application process. Ultimately, they would go to if they wanted to pursue it, they have an interview with a Board of Selectmen member, Select Board member.
There's a form right on the town's website for applications for positions in town, because we just filled 2 Conservation Commission members. So they have to submit the application, then it gets reviewed by, I think the select board has a selection committee, and then, or selection members, and they will meet usually and there's 2 of them, I think, if not 3. And then they will meet with the chair of the committee that the person is volunteering for or interested in, and they will choose the applicant that best suits. At least that's what we did. We actually got 3 people applying for the Conservation Commission, so it was nice to have a choice, and that's the process they used.
Good to see new people getting involved.
Yeah.
But I don't think we should ever not welcome new members. If we had a total membership of 10, we would need 6 for a quorum, correct, Vinny? So let's
Yes,
see, that would be the only new challenge, and if that person shows up all the time, we'd be in good shape, I guess. But yeah, so encourage the person to pursue it, and if they wanted to talk further about the committee, they can reach out to me individually, Brian.
Sounds good. Thanks.
But that'll be great. I mean, a lot of us have been on this committee a long time, and on other committees a long time, so turnover is a good thing, I think, particularly if any other new town resident wants to get involved in things. Any other new business or ideas or points to be made? Hearing none, I wanted to bring up the next meeting date, which right now we have it as January 27th. I believe that's the 4th Monday in January. And bear with me, I'm going to check if Paul C. is going to have a conflict with the Boston Celtics game.
or a meeting with the president.
Yeah. Wonder if did he go to that? Oh my God, that would be great.
I don't know, he didn't say, but that would be fun.
Wait, the president of the United States?
The
Well, the
Celtics won
Celtics
the champion.
just went to visit the White House last week.
Oh, that's
Okay.
really cool. What is his role
What?
there again?
Like a VP of marketing in the
Interesting.
promotion department, I presume. I don't know exactly what he does, but
Pretty cool.
certainly
I love it.
in the staff, I imagine he did get the chance to go. Didn't notice him in the picture, but might have been there.
I think he's a little short for the picture. Those guys are
Might take
tall.
offense to that. I don't
Hey
know.
now.
Oh, come on, those guys are 6'6" and higher. Everybody's short for them. But I'm not even sure how tall he is. I've only seen him on the videos here.
So I digress, but I believe according to this, and wouldn't you know, there is a home game on Monday, January 27th. So that's unfortunate. So knowing that we're already down 1, I don't know, is there any alternate day or date sounds any better to anyone? Otherwise, we'll just have to continue to wing it.
It's 2 months out, I would say, at least until it gets closer, to stick with that date. Be my feeling.
Yep, I mean, we could bring it to another Monday. Sometimes that conflicts with other boards. Trails is 3rd Monday, right, Brian?
Monday, the 20th is Martin Luther King Day anyway, so it's a holiday.
Oh boy, that's tough. Okay. Um, well, fair enough. We could wait and, obviously we know, he probably won't make it again. But if we have enough of a quorum, fair, so be it. Otherwise we could look for a different Monday just before or after that. So do anybody want to suggest another day? Otherwise, postpone it and put it out by email when we get to January.
Yeah, I can send a reminder or an email, just a feeler to see if people are available. 'Cause I think some of the softball programs are gonna be ending. I'm not sure what the next sport is for the kids, but we might get a
Yeah,
couple
no,
of for that. with the
totally
cheer sports.
Appreciate Paul. I have high appreciation for anybody attempting to teach girls how to pitch in softball.
Yeah, he's a
I-
great coach. He's
I-
really good. My
Good,
daughter had
good.
him as a coach many times.
That's awesome. I did that for a long time and.
I mean, his team, it blows everyone else out of the water. It's not even close.
Do they?
It's not even fair if you don't have him as a coach.
Uh,
He is dedicated.
Good to have, good to
Yeah.
hear. That's awesome.
He's great.
We're good. I think it's a pass tonight then. Okay, we'll do that, Vinny, if you don't mind.
Yep,
And no one may know this early on, but we'll just keep it as the date. Try to be consistent and with regard to your actions on the landowner outreach, I look forward to hearing about it. And if you need my involvement, please reach out.
yes, yeah, that sounds good, thank you. And if you have a preference, Ashley, of what days to meet, let me know and I will send it off to the Manies. Whoops.
Monday, I mean, this schedule seems good. I was just looking all around the other times in January and February, and the one we have seems like a pretty good one, but I don't know.
Fair enough. Any other comments by anybody? Hearing none, thank you for coming and I'll
We get a-
entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you.
Can-
Second? Anybody?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote. Brian,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
Leslie,
Yes.
Anthony,
Yes.
and me, John. Thanks all. Appreciate your time. We are adjourned.
Good night, everybody.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
Thanks,
Thanks, all.
everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Bye.